welcome to the Market Report with Cointelegraph. We are back at it again and have some juicy topics to be diving into this week. Absolute chaos in the markets. And we also have a huge guest, Sam Bankman-Fried, that you do not want to miss. I am your host, Benton, and we are joined again by our resident experts, Jordan Finiseth and Yashu. Jordan has used his background in psychology and human behavior to spot emerging trends in the crypto markets. And Yashu is a financial analyst who has been covering the crypto industry since 2014. Prior to his career in journalism, Yashu was a security analyst at Premier Shield and a copyright at Appen Technology. What is up, guys? How we doing this week? Crazy markets.
Yeah, it's been a wild week. Looking forward to discussing here wild charts.
We have so much to get into. Bitcoin, the dump, the pump back up, the market's just going sideways now. I don't even know where to start, but we have a lot lined up. We're going to break things down, get started with our Markets Pro segments, and then we're going to get into all of the other segments, experts, and we're going to have our huge guests. Make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't, like and subscribe our channel. We're here every Thursday, 12 p.m. Smash that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on those notifications so you know when we're going live and we have the biggest guests in the game. So let's go right into our markets news this week. Danilo, let's run it. So guys, Bitcoin talk is here. Who's selling? What happened this week? Giant flash crash, and we saw like remnants of like March 2020. We saw the huge dump. A lot of people on social media were buzzing about this, saying the market crashed because of manipulation. Jordan, what happened this week? What's your take on why Bitcoin crashed?
Why did Bitcoin crash? Again, like there's lots of different TA out there and all that stuff. This is why I don't know. It seems like it was part of a natural market cycle. We were getting hot and heavy. Prices had run up quite a bit since they bottomed out. What was around July 20th? I think it was a healthy correction, in my opinion. What do you think, Yashu?
Well, I do think that we had plenty of catalysts behind this, new dump, and one of the primary ones I actually noticed was from China, and somehow it rippled through the US dollar market and to the gold market and to the Bitcoin market. There's like a plenty of chart-based evidence to prove that thing. So I'm going to show you guys later.
Yeah, I think we're going to dive into some of that stuff. But I noticed a lot of other outlets, Altcoin Daily was citing conflict between Coinbase and the SEC. Crypto Banter was calling crash of the biggest manipulation in crypto history. I think there was a lot of stars aligning here between countries, institutions, whales, and there was some manipulation happening. Whether we can connect those dots or not, I think time will kind of tell us. Extremely weird kind of stuff happening, though, inside of that. BitBoy was calling for manipulation as well. Was any of this, like you both kind of said, this was like a natural cycle? When we have these types of corrections, what's stopping it from sliding even lower? Beyond 42K? Is that retailers or institutions kind of jumping in and setting that support level at that 42K mark? Yashu, what do you think?
Well, like always, we are excessively leveraged, when we are betting on our, upside positions. So even a small movement in the market, maybe it's not that small enough, but even a 5% downside movement, it can just trigger a long liquidation event. So we just have to de-accelerate a bit when it comes to really leveraging the positions, and that's how we can de-risk ourselves from facing such crashes. I mean, in March 2020, some said that we almost crashed to zero because of BitMEX. So these kinds of events are becoming the part and parcel of our Bitcoin life altogether. I mean, the same kind of crashes we have seen in February and May, but we are always bouncing back because sense prevails. And sense comes from those retail investors you were talking about who bought the dip. And now I think they are sitting on a very good profit. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of over leverage in the market. It seems like every time this gets over leveraged, it was almost back up to where it was earlier in the year. And every time that happens, they come out and just dump it on the market. I think, and if you go back way just to 2018, 2019, when they cracked down on ICOs, if you noticed, all these exchanges launched their derivative projects because that's how they make money now. They don't make as much money as they used to launching new projects or even just from trading fees. So they launched derivative platforms so they can short or like liquidate people. And that's what happens. And this is like, it's crypto. It's still not this like well-established global thing where it can't be manipulated as such, and it does. And I don't know. I just think that that's all part of the game that we go through. And if you look at how quick the whole market has bounced back, sure, Bitcoin's still kind of struggling, but a lot of the altcoins are starting to take off. I'm bullish now. This is a good sign for me.
I also want to note, though, like, who was selling? We know this was kind of a little bit of that derivatives market where it was getting overheated, and we're talking about this healthy cleanse. Data appears to show that it was not hodlers who were selling. It was some big whales in the market who just accumulated their Bitcoin most recently. So Yashu, what are your thoughts in regards to actually who cascaded the sell-off?
Well, on-chain data showed that majority of them were like new holders. They were not even holders. They just entered the market and they just saw an opportunity and they sold off. We cannot actually call them whales or any kind of serious institutions. But my guess is that all of these people, they were very much like exposed to the gold market as well at the same time, because there was a slight correlation between what happened with Bitcoin and the gold market at the same time. The crash was very, very, mirror-like. So yeah, there is no point of guessing, but they were actually short-term holders, definitely.
Yeah, I had friends and people calling me that I had gotten into crypto, like, should I sell? What's going on? How did this happen? So to me, yeah, the people that aren't really used to cryptocurrency and the volatility that exists might be the ones that are more kind of like dumping things that things are going really south.
Yeah, and I do want to kind of circle back here to that manipulation. Is it possible that countries were doing this? Manipulating. We had the news of El Salvador releasing that they are now accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. Was there manipulation in the market? Yes or no? Yashu, what do you think?
We have seen similar crashes in the past, and we cannot just go back, to the same point all over again that it was manipulated. It happens. I mean, we have seen it before, and it was not much of a big crash. After this much rally you have seen since July 20. There has to be some profit taking, and because of that profit taking, there has to be some liquidations against the people who were betting on a higher Bitcoin prices. So what's there to guess? I mean, I think manipulation is just a rant.
If you had the reserve currency, or you like something like the IMF that controlled the monetary system of the world, would you kind of want to like slap the hand of maybe a rogue country that did something that you didn't like? Or I don't know. I don't see it as just a country. I see this like, we're in the midst of a financial shift, like a paradigm shift. And it's not just going to go easily. The people that used to have all the control, that still have most of the control, are not going to let that control go. So yeah, like every market on our planet is manipulated. If you ask me, like, I don't see anything that's not. So this is all part of the game. And just so happens on the day that El Salvador was like, we accept Bitcoin as legal tender, the market tanks. Yeah, and back when Elon Musk was like, you know what? Bitcoin mining is bad. It's ugh. And like a week later, China shut down its coal mining. Like, yeah, there's no collusion here, or there's no coordination.
I think that countries have a vested interest, and there's a lot of people going after Bitcoin. And I think countries were partly behind this, whether it be China, whether it be countries in South America who may be starting to shift to a Bitcoin reserve currency. I think there's a lot of people who want to start trying to get in cheap, and those are going to be countries. This was the first domino. We've seen El Salvador. We now see the Ukraine taking steps to adopt Bitcoin. You're starting to see more and more of these countries start to chip away at that US dollar standard. And I think countries are going to start kind of teaming up, and especially those that feel like they have been left out of the traditional system. And so I think that's partly this kind of movement that we've seen. But as we've seen, though, with the over leverage, that's definitely a part of it. It's just a lot of things are kind of starting to line up, and this is part of that natural cycle. So very interesting stuff happening this week in the markets. We're going to start to dive into a little bit about that gold and US dollar, which I want to roll into next. So let's go right into Yashu's expert segment for this week.
So
I'll
just begin. I should always wait for my turn before speaking. So actually, the reason I was telling you guys that it might not have been a manipulation is a simple correlation between Bitcoin and gold and the US dollar index. So I'm going to share a screen with you guys so that I can just like present this thing. Just a moment. And here we go. So if one sees the screen, they can see that Bitcoin market was more or less reacting to the price performances of its top safe haven rival. I mean, gold and the US dollar. That was very much, like instrumental in driving the Bitcoin prices downward. If you focus on these big red candles, it's an hourly chart. So there's green and red candles, that belong to Bitcoin. The black and white one, they are gold, and these blue and yellow ones, they are US dollar. So you see at about this red candle, that arrives at 10 a.m. EST. So Bitcoin falls at this time about 20%, gold falls by about 8%. At the same time, US dollar index rises about 0.37%. So this is the first trigger, that we are looking at, that all of this market crashes, they were entirely correlated. So there was something macroeconomic happening. So that's one thing I really wanted to flash out, that what started it. Meanwhile, like I discussed in the previous section, that there was a long liquidation event triggered by this basically minor correction, and it turned into be a bigger correction. So which is why we were looking at crypto price crash at the first place. But we really have to see that why the US dollar was rising. So
does this rule out manipulation though? Because like to me, this kind of looks like when the market dumps, the crypto market dumps, all the dumps in the stable coins go up. Though I think our world financial markets are so intercorrelated now because I don't know, everybody's shoving their money into these assets, trying to get out of these fiat that are losing money. That when any asset starts falling, everybody rushes to the stable coins, to the dollar. So it does rise, but I don't know, like that doesn't necessarily rule out speculation or manipulation, in my opinion.
Well, you might be right about it, but see, I really have to define one thing, that people are exposed. Sometimes a portfolio is completely exposed to two different assets at the same time. Maybe it can be a portfolio, or it can be, gold and Bitcoin portfolio, or a bond portfolio again. So again, if you start losing money in one asset, you try to offset that loss by selling some other asset that is sitting on a good profit. So that is how you protect your money. You just turn back to cash. So which is why I believe it's not actually some kind of manipulation. It's simply a market reaction. And I mean, if that answers well, I mean, I would like to actually tell that why it was happening, because there was an article I read on Bloomberg which actually noted that China's annual interest expense right now is greater than the yearly increase, in its nominal gross domestic product. So therefore, we are looking at a potential inflationary shock in China right now, and which is why we are seeing some, real growth concerns there. And the foreign investor, as a result, is putting now money in the US markets. So it is pushing the US real yields and US dollar index price higher. So that's one thing. I mean, and whoever they are, I mean, they could also be putting money in the gold and Bitcoin market. They can. But probably they are, as we speak here, they are buying Bitcoin. But this week's actions show that how far Bitcoin has come, in so much that its price declines are matching steps with traditional assets like gold.
Do you think this is a correction?
I'm sorry?
Do you think this is going to be more short-term pullback, or what do you think is going to be up ahead for Bitcoin?
The best thing about this correction was, the buy the knife strategy by retail investors. I mean, we have seen it before. It fell to 42K. Somebody or an army of retail investors just jumped in and bought it. They don't want the price to go down because they know that what they are facing ahead in the market. And which is why I would like to actually discuss that what can prompt people to stay invested in Bitcoin. That is the uncertainty, a very, very scary fundamental in the form of what Janet Yellen, the US Treasury Secretary, said, told the lawmaker. And I would like to actually press on that with your permission, that she said that she warned lawmakers about a potential financial Armageddon, by the way.
What?
Just a moment. Yeah, an Armageddon, man.
That sounds ominous. That sounds dark and ominous.
Yeah, dark and ominous. So basically what she's saying, I mean, you really have to listen to this one because it's interesting. It goes interesting. She said that the US Treasury will run out of cash by next month. By October 22, maybe, they will run out of cash. So as a result, federal government, the US government, they won't be able to respect their debts. I mean, that is the warning that is coming from Janet Yellen herself.
If
So
that isn't a
basically,
case for Bitcoin, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
exactly, because I mean, our viewers also need to understand that what is happening exactly. In short, a federal government default basically would be an economic catastrophe, because what it does, it actually increases the interest rates, and because of that, the stock market also suffer. They go down. All the retirement account you look at, they also take a beating. The value of the US dollar erodes, and the financial reputation of the country, one of the not actually the only superpower right now, the financial reputation of the United States, which also drops hard. So basically, Yellen tells congressmen in a letter that they are basically wasting time, bickering over each other. That should not be happening. They should raise the debt ceiling. And the time they are wasting in, by just doing some really political catfight, they are actually pushing US to the brink of a financial disaster. So why would one stay invested in the US if they really like default on their debts?
Could this be worse than 2008? Like, is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Well, I really don't know, because in 2008 we were looking at a house market collapse basically altogether, and this time we have a debt collapse more likely, because we are already sitting on a $29 trillion debt clock,
Yes, it's going to be
and on
worse
the
than
top of that,
2008. Yes, it's going to be
yeah,
worse. This
well,
is a
it's a
global bad.
it's
Like China's biggest, one of China's biggest companies is going bankrupt. Evergrande. They're the largest property holder.
yes,
They're the largest foreign property holder in
yeah.
Australia and the United States. What's that going to do to the property market in the United States and Australia if they go bankrupt? Like, this is like we've been living on borrowed time probably since 2008, and like politicians have been kicking the can down the road, not actually offering any kind of solutions to changing our world. And now we just printed how many trillions? 6 trillion since the start of COVID. And we're acting like, we can keep doing this. No, that chart is starting to go parabolic, just the same as crypto charts go parabolic. And that voice inside of me is like, Jordan, take some profits. That's happening. It's like, it's not a good parabolic.
Jordan is absolutely right, because even if they raise the debt, I mean, imagine they just take the chance and they really raise the debt ceiling, okay, they can now borrow more. Even then, we are looking at a good prospect for adoption for Bitcoin, because, man, you're just creating a very big debt bubble because of that.
And
Yeah,
every person on the world is starting to realize like all these central banks are just printing money. We have to work. We have to dig stuff out of the ground and create things. And they're just printing money. And countries especially are not. El Salvador's like, we're out of that game, man. This is just a start to like a whole transformation, and it's gonna be painful.
exactly. And it is already painful, guys. I mean, because US Treasury, it has already said that they're running out of cash. It simply means that they would have to sell their investments already. I mean, these guys invest in some place. They have they pay the retirement account, the social security benefits. They have to cut down everything. And how would it impact the normal man? I mean, where would he go after such a drastic thing happens? He will have to find some safe haven. I mean, if Bitcoin is the solution, yeah, go there. If anything in DeFi is a solution, yeah, go there. But you need to get out of that system altogether, because what they are doing is like they're playing chickens with each other and putting the entire financial market, the global financial market, at risk because of the default things. I mean,
and I think a lot of their responses are trying to keep people, like the SEC is cracking down on DeFi and Uniswap. It's like, they're like, don't let people escape the system. Stay on the sinking boat. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be an arduous 6 months to a year, ahead to see kind of what shakes out here. But I mean, you highlight some dark and ominous points like we talked about earlier. I mean, that's scary to think about, but I think it is reassuring that with the solution sitting there in front of our face, it's Bitcoin, it's DeFi, it's all of the systems and framework being built in front of us right now that I think could possibly be that solution for our future. So I think there is light at the end of the tunnel, but that is a dark picture that you paint, Yashu. So I appreciate you walking us through that and showing us those correlations of what could possibly happen ahead. Scary times. But if you haven't liked and subscribed, make sure you do that now. Our Cointelegraph channel is here on YouTube. We're live, the market report, 12 p.m. Thursdays. So let's roll this over to Jordan's segment. I know he's going to be talking about some DeFi today because he is our resident DeFi expert. So let's jump right in.
right, yeah. So we got some of that bad news out of the way. Let's jump into crypto and see like the good news. If you can go ahead and share my screen, Danilo. One of the hot projects for everybody, if you've been paying attention, has been Solana. I mean, it's up over $200 now. And like, it's really starting to bring back this discussion of, is Solana the Ethereum killer? And a lot of people are really starting to compare the two. And even I'm like, for the future price target of here at $500, I think the Solana circulating supply is about 292 million compared to about 117 million for Ethereum. So that's if it kind of reaches the same parity. But what's really attracting people to Solana is its growing DeFi and NFT marketplace or ecosystems that have they exploded on Ethereum. But if anybody that's been trying to use Ethereum lately knows, like, it's really expensive to transact on Ethereum. If you got people in other countries like Venezuela or anywhere where even a $5 to $10 fee can feed your family for a week, that's not really feasible for them to be using Ethereum. And I think Solana has really kind of stepped up to the plate here. A lot of it's also because of the people that back it. I know we're going to be talking with Sam a little bit later. And FTX, the exchange that he runs, has been a big backer of Solana. They just launched a NFT marketplace for Solana. So they're selling NFTs that sell on Solana. I can pull that up here. Yeah, there it is.
So Jordan, while you're pulling that up, I want to break this down for our viewers today. Why is Solana's ecosystem absolutely surging? You mentioned NFTs, you mentioned DeFi, but like, what makes it different than some of these other blockchains like Binance Smart Chain or Phantom that we've also seen grow in Polygon? What makes it different, and why is this absolutely skyrocketing right now?
Well, a lot of it is the low fees. I think it's really super low, even lower than Binance. Binance came along. It's connected a lot with. It's just the older world, and Binance got a lot of its own. A lot of people have concerns about the Binance Smart Chain, whether it's controlled, is it decentralized, lots of different things. I think the general public feel about Solana is a lot more positive. Doesn't have the back history that Binance does, and it's super fast, like, and cheap. I don't know if anybody's if you've jumped on Solana and tried to use it, even compared to the Binance Smart Chain or anything, it's quick. And that's like the first thing I really looked for after I got into crypto. Everybody gets into crypto, you buy Bitcoin, you're like, you try and send it, you're like, this hour-long wait ain't working for me. So you move on to something maybe like a Litecoin or the Ripple, those kinds of things. But then you're like, man, those are legacy. They're getting boring now. Solana's launching DeFi. It's launching NFTs. It's launching DeFi NFTs with the GameFi, I think GameFi just raised 4.1 million. So it's captured the NFT and DeFi energy and solves the problem of high fees on Ethereum. So I think that's really.
But it was surging when Bitcoin was dropping. Like, is that just money moving over from different chains, or like, what are you kind of seeing? Why was that surging when Bitcoin was dropping?
That's really good marketing, man. Like, talk about releasing good announcements and catching a wave right at the right times. Like, when the market's dumping, but one coin's starting to move, then people are like, let's show. If I've watched it so many times, it's where the whole market's dumping, but there'll be like 3 coins that are just like shooting up, and it's like people either they go to stable coins or they go into an altcoin. And right now, they're actually choosing altcoins that have a long-term validity and like strong use case that have it's going to go up in value in the future. So why not catch it now on the dip? And people, I think, took advantage of that, and along with like multiple good big announcements coming out of both Solana and FTX.
But Jordan, don't you think that Solana is also facing stiff competition, not only from Ethereum, but also from other competing chains like Cardano?
Yeah.
What do you think that how much they mousetrap? Yeah.
I think Cardano's gonna be good long term, but right now you can't jump on Cardano and do DeFi. I'm sorry. Like, if the capabilities will be there. Right now, Solana has like first mover advantage in this current bull run as far as like catching the hype of what's happening on Ethereum, but offering a better environment for people to do it. Like,
my argument to that, Jordan, is you see chains with low transactions and fast speeds. Like, that's nothing new to the DeFi space. So it's like, for me, it's like, are these chains just doing a much better job of marketing themselves, and that's why they're getting in front of more people and more audiences? Or are they focusing on education, how to get people set up on their chain? Like, what is the secret sauce?
A lot of it's all those things and a really strong community. You'd be amazed at how much like word of mouth and like good market. Like go back to 2018 or 2017. Good marketing. Ask Justin's son, like, what does good marketing do for your project? You know, part of it's that you got a really hyped up community. People love Sam, which he's a cool, awesome dude. And like, I think that even just having a good figurehead is like at the top of this brings new energy. Like people are going to support him over a CZ, in my opinion, kind of a thing, you know? Because of his, and that like that benefits the project, but they've been doing like the right steps this whole time. Like I haven't seen a whole lot that I haven't appreciated from Solana over the last year that has made me kind of had any kind of negative feelings towards the project, and that goes a long way with people.
Where do you see Solana going in the next 6 months to a year? If you had a price target, what are you kind of looking at for the asset itself?
I don't think $500-600 is unreasonable. Again, if it's Ethereum's 117, Solana's 292, that's like 2.5 times. So I take the Ethereum price divided by 2.5. If it can reach parity with it, like Ethereum and keep building its momentum, it could easily get up to that, like a multiple of the Ethereum price. So even $1,000 isn't without a range. Like again, what we were just talking about, like the world's economy is crashing. There's if people actually start onboarding into cryptocurrencies, Solana is going to be one of those top projects. We're not going to be investing in train cars. People are going to be investing in train tracks, and Solana is a really good train track.
But Jordan, I was looking at Solana's technical indicators, and I happened to come across RSI, which was like completely overbought. And I know that it can actually go up because of all the promises it is doing right now. But at the same time, for investors who want to enter the market, when is the next step according to you in Solana markets?
When's the next what? Sorry.
Next dip, next price dip.
Oh, it could happen right now, man. It's gone up again. It's one of them. I personally would not be dumping a whole bunch of new money into Solana right now, just because it's gone parabolic. Like all-time high, do not buy. Like, and even another coin I like, Algorand. Like it's being chosen by El Salvador to host a lot of its actual blockchain stuff, but it's at a new all-time high too. These are really like Algorand's another good, solid layer 1 blockchain, pure proof of stake, low transaction fees, but they're at all-time highs now. So I wouldn't personally recommend buying any of those. Like the dip will come, but once it does, and I don't know, maybe the dip for Solana was when Bitcoin just took a shit like this past week.
The one thing that gets me with Solana is token supply. I mean, right now it's sitting at number 6 in regards to market cap. The token supply is almost double of Binance and Ethereum. So there's a lot more circulating supply, and there's actually a supply, I believe, that hasn't hit the market yet. So I do think there's a little bit of that ceiling below 500. In my opinion, I feel like when it comes to that supply and demand aspect, I don't know if Solana has a burn mechanism. Is that something, Jordan, you have information about? I
don't. No, I mean, you say that, don't have it off the top of my head, but it's something I could look into. And again, that's what I love about the beauty of this. It doesn't mean like if you as a person that's in the community see that as a valuable thing, that's something that could be added in the future, just the same way that it's been added with Ethereum, with the London upgrade and EIP 1559 and the new burning mechanism. That was why they added that, because people had a lot of concerns about the emission rate of Ethereum and inflation and all that stuff. So those are all things that can be addressed later on in the future. But right now it's about building that ecosystem and building the community behind it. But yeah, the price will eventually cap out and have a pullback.
And I also want to note, like, there's a difference between, buying the asset as a play or an investment versus actually utilizing that asset inside of their ecosystem to get around and navigate through those DeFi protocols. So there is a use case for Solana. It's not just buy and hold that asset. That's one direction you could go, but you could also use it and utilize it for gas fees, getting in and out of pools or whatever kind of ecosystem, buying NFTs, those kind of things. It sounds like on their platform. So I'm always a big fan of projects that have use cases for their tokens, especially inside of DeFi ecosystems. But awesome. If you want to close out the segment.
One last thing, it's also the staking mechanism. The staking mechanisms are the ones that are doing the best. Already have launched staking mechanisms. Like Binance Smart Chain doesn't have it easy to stake. Solana does. Algorand does. Cardano does. So
Good stuff. Well, if you haven't, like and subscribe that YouTube channel for Cointelegraph. We're here Thursdays, 12 o'clock p.m. Make sure you are tuning in. We're going to shift over to our Markets Pro segment. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, breaking news is what moves the crypto market, and the Newsquake service by CT Markets Pro helps traders stay on top of important news. Newsquakes are automated alerts that instantly notify users when market-moving events happen. We are going to look at a chart today, in particular, Radium. I don't know if you guys have heard of this particular token, but this was yet another case of Binance staking announcement. Anytime you're seeing those announcements, staking announcements, exchange listing announcements, our platform Markets Pro is able to catch it, and it was able to catch Radium, which had a super surge after that newsquake. You see there on the lower side of this chart, you'll see that red circle. That is going to indicate when that newsquake happened, and that white line is the price line, and that middle yellow and green line is the vortex score. We see what happens after a newsquake. That price line absolutely just went parabolic. And that's the power of the newsquake. So when it comes to Markets Pro, that newsquake feature is super, super awesome to keep track of. But I do want to move over to the next token that we're going to be highlighting this week, which is IOST. We're going to be looking at the vortex score for this particular token. And for those of you who are not familiar with the vortex score, it is a comparison between its current market condition and the social conditions of those in the past. A high score for a vortex score means that, judging from historical data, the asset's current outlook is bullish for the next 12 to 72 hours. So a vortex score of 80 or higher is considered confidently bullish. So on this chart, you see for IOST, that first red circle in the middle of the chart is that vortex score hitting at 80. You will see nearly days later and hours later, that price line of the white line actually surged up after that. So that high score of 80 or higher, that 12 to 72 hour window is typically when we will see a little bit of price action according to historical data. So that score has been in the green zone. And like I said, that vortex score, anytime it's green, you just love to see it. So it took that IOST price from 0.5 cents all the way up to 8 cents. So that historical data has been clearly instructive here. So super awesome stuff with our Markets Pro platform. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. You want to make sure that you are staying in tune with the markets, and the Markets Pro platform is the best way to do that. So we are super excited for our special guest here. And I know we have Sam Bankman-Fried coming on next. So make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channel for Cointelegraph. Let's jump right into our interview with the man, the myth, the legend, Sam Bankman-Fried. All right, we have Sam Bankman-Fried, who is a pioneer in the decentralized finance space, and he was named Forbes 30 under 30 in 2021, runs FTX, a global cryptocurrency exchange specializing in derivatives that he began in 2019. FTX is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges and routinely has daily trading volume in the tens of billions of dollars. He also manages $2.5 billion of assets through Alameda Research, the quantitative crypto trading firm he founded in 2017. Welcome, Sam. We are super excited to have you on the show today. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. I know I have been seeing FTX just absolutely everywhere, man. You guys are crushing it with the marketing, from MLB to celebrities, athletes, all that kind of stuff. I want to start things off here. Like, where is your team heading next with kind of the marketing? I'm absolutely loving this.
Yeah, I mean, what we're really looking for are what are the things that can reach tens of millions of people without diluting our brand. And we're really excited about the partnerships, with Tom Brady. Good luck tonight. With Steph Curry, with the Miami Heat, with Major League Baseball, TSM. And I think that we're gonna keep on the lookout for things that can really move the needle there. I also think that we've done a lot already in that space, and we're in a fortunate position to be able to. But in the end, endorsements can only get you so much. In the end, it's all going to come down to our product and our execution.
How much has FTX spent on your marketing this year so far?
It's probably gonna end up somewhere between 50 and 100 million. It depends on exactly what ends up coming through, but that's going to be the ballpark. And of course, those numbers seem, big compared to what even, we were thinking about a year ago. But, we're in an unfortunate position where it's not that big compared to, what our budget's going to look like this year. So.
Good deal. Well, I want to kind of roll over to the markets, and I know we saw a little bit of chaos this week. So I'm curious to hear your take of what you saw happening in the markets and why we saw that Bitcoin dip this week.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's a classic thing where there's a ton of bullishness in this space. There has been for a while. We sort of recovered sentiment, from the crash back in May. And, what you started to see was all the signs of people getting leveraged long again, the space getting really long, the space getting bullish, premiums going up, USD bar rates going up, sentiment very positive. And, I think that an important point to make about that is that sometimes that just leads to more run-ups. Like sometimes there's just a straightforward effect where when people are bullish, things go up. But there's also sometimes an effect where if things start to go down, you get some liquidations, you get some margin calls, you get some people cashing out and de-risking, you get some of the hot air leaving the space. And that's what we saw over the last few days. Open interest is down a lot. I think it's probably 5 billion or so of liquidations. And, I think that was what drove, 2/3 or so of that decline. But I think another thing to note is if you sort of look at like March 12th and then, May 19th of last year, May 19th of this year, and then you look at the last few days, each time, each time that happens, it's a lot less of a shit show for the space. And I think for people who are around in 2020, it was a really scary moment for the space when markets crashed, when Bitcoin went below 4K. That's really, really different than how it felt, a few months ago in May. And I think it felt like a lot of cooling off in this space, but still a lot of hope. And I think now you look at, the sort of crash a couple days ago, frankly, we're already halfway back up. And, I think market sentiment is already fairly positive again. I think each time the liquidity in crypto markets has gotten deeper, the hot air has gotten less overheated and it's been more sustained inflows. And so I do think that it's been, a healthy trend for markets.
So do you suspect that we'll see more of these kind of shakeouts like before the end of the year or before kind of Bitcoin kind of keeps going up?
We're always going to see these time again. Like you can't go up if you don't go down. You can't go down if you don't go up. Like there's always going to be both movements. And, I think it's important to keep in mind that like Bitcoin is up like what? It's like up 200% on the year or something like that. Whenever you see an asset with that level of up moves, you're going to see 20% down moves. If not, you just have an implausible price graph, which is just like a straight line up. And what happens, if people are expecting that, is you get people buying in anticipation of the future increases. You get sort of speculation, and that can be good for market health and efficiency because it can realize price movements earlier. But it also means that there's a bit of a speculative bubble that can cause a mini crash. They come hand in hand with each other. And it comes hand in hand with trying to have efficient markets.
Yeah, and I want to kind of shift this over to like the altcoin world, and I am curious to hear your take in regards to maybe some altcoins that you feel have the highest potential. Are you looking at Ethereum to continue its surge, and could we potentially see a flip in the future of Bitcoin?
Anything could happen, and I would be surprised if there is that flip, but it's not impossible. I think that like, if it were to happen, like if you came and told me, look, Sam, 2 years from now, Ethereum had a higher market cap than Bitcoin, predict what happened. I think my prediction would be that there's massive institutional inflows. My prediction would be that what happened, over the last year, was that institutions really got involved in buying Ethereum for the first time, and I think that could have massive impact on token prices. Of course, you could see a crash as well. Like, I don't want to say that will happen, but if it does go up, I think that's likely to be the cause.
We were talking about Solana and their ecosystem earlier. Is that an ecosystem you've had your eye on, and what are you most bullish about in the development of that ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of a fanboy of the project for a while. I think that it's really exciting, and I think that it sort of is I think it's basically the only one of the only blockchains that is really trying hard to scale as much as it can, and to get to the point where it can support just massive operations on it. Almost no other blockchain is even trying. I think the world is starting to come alive to that. I think as institutions are starting to come alive to that, and I think that the crypto community is as well. I sort of want to I don't know about price predictions. Obviously, I was fairly bullish on it. It's up a lot. I'm still really bullish on the project. I don't know what the right price is for it, and a lot of that's going to have to do with crypto sentiment overall.
Sure. And so, like, what areas of DeFi are you most interested in, and why?
I think that, like, one piece is just building really great user experiences across all products. It just hasn't happened enough. I think that, like, a second thing is starting to see real existing businesses back end into DeFi. Businesses that were not natively decentralized start to use it, as it shows that it's not just cool, but it can in fact be better than existing other opportunities for some businesses. We haven't seen that much of that yet, but it could happen. And then I think social networking is something that hasn't really made its way on chain yet. I know we've seen a few kind of attempts at it, and I think a few people are working on it. But I think that's something else where there's a lot of ground left to cover, but it's a pretty natural thing.
And so, like, what would be your vision for the future of DeFi, and how that could coexist with a traditional finance system, or mesh with that traditional finance system?
It's a really complicated question, and I don't think anyone knows the answer. I think that you'll hear some people who give the answer like, DeFi is about to flip banks. That's not about to happen. Maybe it'll happen at some point in the future. We're not close to that point. There's a lot of progress that needs to be made. And I think that, you'll get other people who will sort of speak confidently about the future of the regulatory landscape for for DeFi. And I think that's also not right, because the real answer is we don't know. That's sort of a really important open question for the future of the industry that just, is going to take time to resolve. So I don't know the answer for sure. And that's my strongest belief, is that I don't know. But I think sort of outside of that, like, what are the things I think are going to be the biggest touch points? Figuring out how custody works, figuring out how institutions can get comfortable storing assets on DeFi, figuring out what AML regime it fits into, and figuring out what happens when you have part of the world on a blockchain-based system and part of the world on a non-blockchain-based system. How do you interface between the two of those? And I think stable coins are sort of one attempt at an answer there, but it's not the only possible answer.
It's so earlier in your career, you made a name for yourself by doing a lot of arbitrage trading. Can you kind of break that down for our audience who maybe are not as experienced with that? And how did you get so good at doing that?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things is how easy it is sometimes to spot an arbitrage. You just see two markets for the same coin trading at different prices. And it's like, yeah, what if you like buy on the low end and sell on the high one? Do you make money? And in theory, the answer is yes, right? And sometimes you see that in crypto. You'll see two exchanges, same token, different prices. That's an arbitrage opportunity. And then you can ask like, okay, well, if it's that simple, why doesn't everyone do it? Why do those opportunities still exist? And the answer is anyone who's really tried to do large size trades on quick time scales in the crypto ecosystem globally has quickly learned how difficult that is operationally, and it's gotten easier over time, and that's coincided with more efficient markets. But the number of problems that you run into from withdrawal limits, jurisdictional limits, banking issues, exchange issues, deposit withdrawal issues. It's just like the problems compound really quickly, and it can be operationally quite difficult. Just to kind of like send assets to an exchange, buy a token there, send it to another exchange, sell it there, send those assets back, send it back to the first exchange.
I gotta jump in with the questions, Sam, if I may.
Yeah.
How do you actually like spot these opportunities? Because it sounds like a pretty like humane task. I mean, if you just keep looking at different computers, do you have like a special tools you have created to quantitative computing tools maybe to spot certain arbitrage opportunity? And how legal is that? I mean, in some countries, I have heard that arbitrage trading is kind of like an illegal thing. How do you answer that?
Can you name one of those countries?
Well, I can't really, but I will get back to you about it. But yes, I have read it.
So there's some like things that might be helpful for doing some arbitrages that might be restricted in some jurisdictions. Short selling is an example of one, where in some countries it is difficult or impossible to short sell some assets. Speaking even outside of the crypto regime, this is often true. Arbitrage does not tend to be outlawed. It sort of is the fundamental principle of providing liquidity in markets. But putting that aside for a second, I'm not sort of actively running anymore. I stepped down as CEO there and focusing on FTX, but I can talk about what it was like, and I think that like what's this sort of stupid simple version of this, right? Just pull up CoinGecko, right? Like I don't know, pull it up, type in your favorite token, right? Like click on like the markets tab, and it'll tell you what it thinks the price of each asset is, right, on each exchange, and just be like, are those the same number, And like right now, if you type in Bitcoin, I'm doing this as we speak, and you click it on the markets, what you're going to see is sometimes it has bad data. But when the data is correct, you're going to see every market pricing this is basically the same price, which is about 47,200 right now. And there's some variation here, but that variation is mostly because I think CoinGecko doesn't really know how to price euro and stuff. But if you put that aside for a sec, it used to be that if you type that in, you would just see wildly different prices. And part of the point is that this really is part of an answer to like what a scheme could look like there. To be able to identify arbitrage opportunities, literally just pull up CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, pull up the page for a token, and see on which markets you get different prices. And I'm being a little bit glib here, but it is really true that even something that simple can get you some of the way there. And then what's sort of a more sophisticated tool? Well, you can build something that alerts you when there's a difference. You can build something that highlights when there's a difference. You could build an automated trading system that actually does those trades based on those prices. But I think that like a lot of the tools that you might want to use there are actually surprisingly straightforward and simple. And rather than being like incredibly complex mathematical formulas, it's sort of like, alert, this price is bigger than this price. They're for the same asset.
Could I maybe get your opinion on the growing NFT space? I know you guys just launched the NFT marketplace for Solana. And in my opinion, it's almost attracting more people than DeFi is. So I don't know. Like, it just seems like one of the biggest things that the whole crypto industry got going for it. What's your opinion on NFTs?
Yeah, I think that like the amount of excitement we've seen for NFTs, not just from people in the crypto ecosystem, but more generally, from businesses all across the world is unbelievably strong. It's like it's just like it's something that we've almost never seen grow this quickly. It's not this is not just a bubble internal to crypto. If it's a bubble, it's a global bubble. And I think that there's a huge amount of long-term interest in them. And I think that there are a lot of areas where they make a ton of sense. I think ticketing is one obvious example. I will also say that I personally am really, really bad at judging aesthetics. It's just like, it is not what I'm good at. I don't know what pictures are pretty. I don't know. I wasn't born with that gene. And so, like, when I try and say, like, what's a good NFT, I'm sort of like, dude, I'm not the target audience here. And we have a lot of other people on our team who I think are better at that. But I think that's sort of the goal of the platform that we built. Rather than trying to decide which NFTs are good and which are bad, it's to be a platform. You know, that's in the end what we're best at, is building platforms. And you know, our NFT marketplace is a place where anyone can mint NFTs, anyone can list their NFTs, anyone can deposit and withdraw NFTs between Ethereum and Solana cross-chain. And you know, we just want to be facilitating that and making it really easy for people to distribute their work.
I'm just wondering how you guys are gonna like one up yourselves with this marketing thing. You got Steph Curry. Are we gonna see like Space FTX next or something? You're gonna do your own space brand?
Well, we'll see.
I'm going to take us into the fire round where we have a couple fun questions, kind of get to know you, SBF. So let's kind of jump right into this. So I have one question here, and it's, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh boy, I mean, can I make up anything? Like,
you can, anything goes.
That'd be pretty powerful. I don't know. Yeah, why not?
All right. And when was the last time you didn't look at a computer screen for more than 24 hours?
Ooh.
Oh boy. I mean, well, does a mobile screen, so like sometimes I travel, and like when I'm traveling, like I'll use my phone, but I sometimes won't use the computer for a day. So I guess my answer would be 3 months ago when I was sort of last traveling.
Okay. And now what would it take for you not to look at a computer screen or a mobile device for more than 24 hours?
I mean, it would be painful, but I could do it. Like, I think it just, meetings maybe is the answer. Like, if I had some incredibly important in-person meetings for a day, I could imagine it'd be a little weird if I weren't checking like Slack in between meetings, right? But like, I could do it. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah. Now, with FTX's recent marketing blitz, do you have a favorite sports team?
I grew up watching the San Francisco Giants, and I gotta say, I've gotten lucky as fuck this year with that. I have no idea how they have the best record in the league.
Very good. And last question in the fire round: what is your favorite planet and why?
Earth.
Fair enough. I mean, we're all here, so it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, no, we appreciate you joining for today's show. Sam, awesome getting to know you and chatting with you about your insights regarding the market. We would love to have you back in the future, and we appreciate you joining.
Thank you, guys.
All right, take care, Sam. All right, that was fun getting to know SBF, the man, the myth, the legend of FTX. His name's in the space. It was super fun to chat with him, but we are going to get into our questions from the audience today. We're going to get you guys involved. Give us your burning questions. We want to know what they are. We want to answer them. Anything goes. Answer all the questions that we got. Let's go ahead and get started here. All right, folks. Tons of questions are flooding in. Let's see. Can you quickly pump Sol? No. Wrong question. All right, let's see. Give us your questions, guys. Let's see what we got out there today. No shot, you have the most. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, while we're waiting, I just like to
Somebody's asking when
NFTs.
moon.
Again, NFTs are the biggest thing on the planet right now. Look up a Google searching, even compare it to maybe even Bitcoin. I need to look up that one. I know it's bigger than DeFi. But NFTs, they're the thing that's bringing the mass adoption.
All right, I got one question here. Let's see. We have, what is the next Solana? I will let Jordan jump in here first.
Well, I'm going to go with Algorand right now just because it seems to be really hot. Next Solana. Oh. I haven't been too impressed with the Avalanche when I've used it. Yeah, I've kind of liked Algorand since it first launched a long time ago, and they've put some they're starting to launch some CBDCs and kind of host those. So I think that's a good one to watch, in my opinion.
Yashu, do you have a next chain that could top Solana?
Ethereum, of course. I mean, okay, I'm going to get a hate mails again. But despite all the drama that there's going to be an Ethereum killer, why do we forget that Ethereum is still the largest chain available? It has mousetrapped the markets, and it is also developing. It is also building its product. So let's not forget that Ethereum is still in the game. So I think Ethereum and Solana are pretty much, two really good projects. And yeah, in the previous session, I also said there is enough space for everybody. So there is no next or previous. They can just coexist together based on what they're offering.
Yeah, the way this is all developing, Ethereum's like, we're gonna scale for how long now? And I think all these networks, they haven't figured out the magic blockchain bullet yet that can host 7 billion people. So it's gonna have to be a mixture of networks, probably for decades until we get this all figured out.
I think if we're talking highest upside potential, I have heard a lot of chatter about Phantom Chain. So I think they're relatively new in the space. We've seen Polygon around for a while. We've seen BSC around for a while. I know they just had their 1-year anniversary. I would say if there is a next chain, and I'm a betting man, I would probably take a look at Phantom as possibly being that chain. I was playing around with a lot of their projects on that chain last night, actually, and I really like the UI and feel of what they have going on. Let's move on to our next question here. Which do you guys prefer, invest or trading? Yashu, I'll kick this one off with you.
Yeah, well, invest actually. I'm more sort of an investor. I like to play it safe, and trading really comes to me when it really has to be, buying the dips. I mean, I'm always looking for some good support levels. And so I read charts and I invest. And based on what I actually want in my real life, to pay for my rents and everything, I trade accordingly because I want to live free for the rest of my life. So my goal is to make $1,000 trading every month. And that's it. So trading comes later, but yeah, I'm more sort of an investor.
Yeah, I'm focused on investing too. There's a psychological principle. If you give a person an option to pick a thing, and they just have one option, they like this thing. But if you give them 3 different choices to choose from, they'll pick one, and later on, they'll be like, oh, I should have gotten a different one. They'll be less happy with their choice, giving more options. And that's kind of what trading is for me. You can go and you buy, and you're like, yeah, I got it good. Then the price dips, you're like, no, it went down. And it's such a psychological game to actually trade daily that I'd say 95% of people should stay out of that game and just invest. That's just my personal opinion. Trading is maybe if I'm trying to get some side income, or instead of going to the casino, I'm like, let's go to the markets. But investing, long-term hodling, dollar cost averaging, it's my way all the way, man.
DCA, I will die on this hill. Dollar cost average. Start with investing. Dollar cost averaging is your best friend. Trading is playing with fire. It is a fight for survival, the way that I see it when you get involved with trading. And yes, it can be an absolute thrill ride sometimes, but it can absolutely be a huge bloodbath. This is not financial advice. Just want to also reiterate that. But if you are interested in exploring getting involved with crypto, I would look into dollar cost averaging. So our next question from the audience is from Cal Toro. And how do we pick the right NFTs? Jordan, let's kick this one off with you.
That's a good question. I don't know. Talk to my editor. He's the one that likes the NFTs. That's the one area of crypto is I'll get into it now. NFTs, I start staring at all these things on OpenSea, and I'm like, half of my brain falls asleep, and I'm like, nah. That's just not my game. What do you think, Yashu?
Well, like I said in the previous session, actually, because I'm a dino collector myself. So I can really understand that when you're collecting something, it should be very unique, or it should come with a certain offer or from somebody who's quite famous. So you cannot just go into the market and buy an NFT from some random dude who's not famous enough or who's not known enough. That is not a collection. If you really want to buy an NFT, it has to be from a very good artist, somebody who's known. So this thing will always have value, or it should belong to some brand value, like Harry Potter. Maybe if Harry Potter releases his card, I'll buy next day for sure. But you should be able to sell it later, because you're also like investing in a way, like baseball cards. So you should always buy an NFT when you know that you can sell it later at a good price in your tough times.
Yeah, in this game, especially if it's not a famous person or famous artist, if it's one of these newer projects, look for a rare. The more rare it is, the more likely it's going to be worth value in the future if it goes up in value at all. I know that's one thing. Look for the rare things, certain unique features or things that there's hardly any of, because that just, again, we're into the scarcity aspect of it. Seems like the scarcity thing is what's biggest in the NFT game.
The way that I see NFTs is like art. It's very subjective, and granted, like, I think a lot of people are in it to make money and buy low and sell high. But for some people out there, they just like art, and it's like if something looks cool and you like it, it's like and you're into collectible stuff. It's very subjective. So I think it's a challenging question from Cal Toro to pick the right NFT, because I don't think there is a right NFT for one like broad sweeping kind of statement there. So let's get one more question for the Q&A segment today from the audience. Let's see, what else do we have here from, looks like we had one from GH Crypto guy that I'm trying to find here in the comment section. We have so many people today just asking tons of questions. It's so hard to go through this. We appreciate everyone for chiming in here. And last question is another NFT question. GH Crypto guy chimes in and says, what NFTs are you minting? Are you guys minting NFTs?
Not currently. I was looking at a few things. Actually, I think Evermore is one I was just looking at, and this isn't financial advice. This is just me searching around the NFT game. I'm like, oh, that one looks interesting. How about you, Yashu?
Man, I don't have money to mint NFTs, really. And if
when
really
you're on
want to go to
especially
on Ethereum, definitely not. But personally, I'm actually trying to mint this meme collection. I've made it after my best friend. So I just wanted to make fun of him. So on his birthday, I'm just going to release an NFT. That is the plan. Don't tell him. but I hope it's cheaper. So let's see.
Good deal. I've used to mint a lot of NFTs on Rarible. I got out of the NFT game a while back. I was on that fad last summer, so I think I was an early adopter and kind of like fizzled out. But I haven't really been paying attention to NFTs much. But anyways, that's going to wrap up our questions and answers from our community today. Guys, do we have any closing thoughts for today's show? What do we have cooking in your heads? Jordan, kick us off with your closing thoughts.
Nothing has changed in my perspective on crypto, especially now even with this recent dip. Like as Yashu was talking about, and if you go search, the world's economy is kind of like, it's not looking so hot. Like people are starting to not dig the fiat currencies that they're just printing left and right. And cryptos, I think they're about to come into their own. I don't think we're quite ready to onboard the whole population, but we're as ready as we can be at this point because things are about to get a little bumpy.
What about you,
I would like
Yashu?
to add that, I would like to say that we had plenty of healthy corrections this week throughout the top token brass. But for the people who still wants to buy Solana, I would like to say, please try to wait for the dip. Again, this is not a financial advice, but please try to wait for the dip because when I was looking at the chart, it's like completely overbought. So I still see a top out risk. So just watch your back. That's all.
Buy the dips and dollar cost average. I will leave you with those thoughts.
Definitely.
Guys, this was an awesome show. It's super excited for next week. We appreciate Sam Bankman-Fried joining us today from FTX. Super awesome day. I hope you guys have an awesome one. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you like and subscribe. Smash the notification button so you know when we are on. It's Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, over and out.